But, you know, if you're a federally licensed firearm dealer, you have to have a background check. I don't understand what's happening in our society. It's hard to legislate away evil and get into the hearts of people, but these things are happening. And at the federal level, I'm doing what I can to make sure that those communities and individuals are being protected.
We've got way too many questions and not enough time, so I want to move on to another issue. Ms. Axney, should we get out of Afghanistan?
You know, I think it's high time that we make sure that we bring our troops home. We have been over there for a long time, as we all know. I certainly think there's opportunity for us to back that up with support to make sure that on the ground we're ensuring that there's opportunity for people that live there, that there's an opportunity for, you know, democracy and to grow that. We keep our country safer by going in and following boots on the ground with programs that help support democratic societies. And so I'd like to see us take advantage of doing that. There's a small pot of money set aside in federal government to make that happen. And it is, if you ask any of our veterans and our military people, they would also support the fact that we've got to make that happen.
Mr. Young, time to get out?
I think we need to listen to Secretary Mattis and the chiefs of our different military divisions. But I do think we've been there a long time, and we need to see some action. It's slow. I've been to Afghanistan and visited with our troops and generals out there. The point is to try to make sure that we can train the Afghanis to protect themselves. It's a slow process. And make sure, though, that they're not still coordinating with any nefarious folks out there in the terrorism circles, and to hold them accountable if they do. It's cost a lot of money, but more so it's cost a lot of lives. But I'm going to depend on the reports and the advice from Secretary Mattis.
Here.
Mr. Young, how about the president's issue to ban transgender individuals from serving in the military? The secretary has taken that under consideration. Was that the right move?
I've always said if you can pass the fitness tests and the mental exams and you want to fight for your country and our Constitution, you should be able to.
Ms. Axney, same question for you.
Well, I absolutely support our LGBTQ community and transgender individuals. I think it's appalling that those that are serving in our military and who have put their lives on the line for this country are being treated this way. I certainly don't support that.
And in the area of protections for the LGBTQ community, Mr. Young, should there be a federal law banning workplace discrimination specifically against those people?
We need to treat everybody with dignity and respect and kindness, and I'm not for discrimination when it comes to employment.
We need to treat people.
So you would support a federal law specifically citing that form of discrimination?
I think it's important
to discuss these.
I state the case that we need to be kind to everybody. I would hesitate to just say yes to any kind of piece of legislation that's not before me.
Ms. Axney?
Yes, I believe we should. I certainly think that every single person in this country and around this world are equals, and we absolutely need to ensure that they have the same civil rights protection, constitutional protection that every other person in this country has.
Is that too much government intrusion into a private business?
Listen, I don't think treating people with dignity and respect and also making sure that all people are treated equally, which is what we say we do here as a country, is something that we should ever shy away from.
Congressman Young, would you vote to raise the federal minimum wage, and how far should it be raised, if so?
I think the minimum wage needs to be taken care of at the state level. So I'm not for a federal bill to raise the minimum wage. It has happened before, though. If it does come across the Congress for any reason, we need to make sure it's bipartisan, it's phased in, and there's some relief for small businesses, because that's who it hits the most. But I think we need to make sure that that is taken care of at the state level, because states are different. Corning, Iowa is not like Corning, New York.
Ms. Axney, raise the federal minimum wage?
Well, we absolutely need to raise the minimum wage in this country. Unfortunately, it hasn't been raised for so long, and that's one of the reasons why families and individuals are falling behind. I do agree with Congressman Young that we need to make sure that this works for small businesses. I do believe that there should be input from local and regional areas to make sure that it's an appropriate wage that helps individuals, but also ensures that our economy continues to thrive and that our small businesses can absorb it.
Mr. Mr. Young, some folks blame the opioid epidemic on pharmaceutical companies. Should there be limits on the number of prescription medications that are prescribed to an individual, a limit on the number of pills in a bottle? Should those be federal limits?
I don't want to play doctor. We've had doctors in medical school with the proper training, and I'm not going to play doctor. But I do think we need to bring some real transparency to this with the prescription drug monitoring programs, and not just in Iowa, but in other states as well, because if just a few states are doing it, there's going to be folks going around the system going to other states. And so with that system and that transparency, you can see if there are some providers who are pill pushers or some pill shoppers out there. But the opioid crisis is real. I've seen it firsthand. It breaks your heart. It's an evil addiction. Nobody wants to be in that. We need to make sure that aside from a prescription drug monitoring program, that we give law enforcement the tools that they need to fight those dealers with fentanyl and heroin, and provide treatment and prevention efforts as well.
Ms. Axne?
Listen, I do think that we need to hold pharmaceutical companies accountable. Unfortunately, my opponent has taken tens of thousands of dollars from Big Pharma. And I think, which is why one of the things I won't do is take corporate PAC money. I've said that straight out. I think it's important that we're working for the people. I think that any decisions that's made has the greatest impact on helping individuals. And so I certainly think we need to hold them accountable. They're a big part of the problem. I do agree that we need to make sure that we've got programs and services in place to help people with opioid addiction. And certainly I want to go further than that, like I want to do with almost everything we're talking about here, and start addressing root causes, mental health issues, lack of opportunity, jobs that don't pay enough. Those are all the things that lead people to issues with opioids, as well as overprescribing.
Congressman Young, she raised the issue of your fundraising. What's your response?
My response is accept funds legally, solicit it legally, and no quid pro quo. I don't report to the drug companies. I've supported legislation that they're probably not too happy about. I report to the 3rd District.
Aaron?
Mr. Young, the wind energy tax credit, very popular here in Iowa. It's set for a phase out. Is that industry ready to stand on its own, or do we need to renew that tax credit?
I think it needs to be phased out. That was the deal that was brought forth, as well as solar. And it was interesting, during the tax debate with the GOP tax bill, it would have harmed the production tax credit in wind energy. And I fought in a bipartisan way to make sure that that was restored and that the phase out was there. But, it's pretty amazing being in Iowa, where we lead the country in renewable energy, wind power, harnessing that, solar power, geothermal, E15. Pretty exciting, the president's announcement. I brought in the acting EPA administrator, Andrew Wheeler, to the state fair and had him sit down with producers and farmers and the ethanol industry to talk about that. And this administration listened, so that was very, very nice. We still have an issue, though, with refineries and the waiver process at the EPA. I'm glad the former administrator Pruitt is gone.
So just to circle back real quick, do you think the industry is ready to stand on its own without that tax credit?
They tell me it is, and that was the deal that was made.
Exactly.
Well, I'm very proud to have been a part of bringing the wind industry here to Iowa in my tenure at the state of Iowa. And as you're probably aware, we now have almost 40% of our energy from wind. Mid-American has doubled down, putting another $4 billion into it because it's been such a successful program for them. And of course, we all know it's really lowered our energy costs here. We have some of the least expensive energy in the country, which is helping our economy. So I certainly think we need to look at that. It may be the right time to pull back on that and to move into other areas like solar. I think we've got incredible opportunity here in solar, but I think it's important that we take a look at those businesses and ensure that they're going to have what it takes for longevity. That's the most important thing. I never look at any of these issues as let's just a solid answer, let's just take this away or add that. I want to go in, make sure that our businesses who have invested in this state, who are helping us lower our cost of energy and who are helping to create jobs, have what they need to make that transition, and that we're not strapping them. But I certainly believe that if they're at a point where they can stand on their own, then we're best to use those taxpayer dollars in another way.
Just a couple minutes.
Ms. Axne, if you are elected and Democrats are in the majority, there may be an effort to impeach President Trump. Would you vote to impeach the president?
Here's where I stand right now in regard to what's happening out in Washington. I think on both sides we're seeing too much political partisanship. We've seen it for many years now. I'm not happy anytime that we try to not follow our Constitution or not follow processes that were put in place to make sure that we do protect our democracy. So I don't have an answer for that at this time. I certainly think what's important is that we allow Mueller's investigation to complete its course, and we'll determine at that point if there's information in there that puts our country at risk, or that certainly means that we need to do something like that.
Mr. Young, the president has said that the Mueller investigation has gone on too long. Has it?
Good question. It's still there. As long as they are staying course and not being diverted into other weird areas that they've been doing, I think they need to keep focus on the issue. So I believe the Mueller investigation could keep going. We need to get to the bottom of this. So far, even Democrat leaders in the House and Senate have said that there's no evidence of collusion. So that's very, very important to take note of. But at some point, this does have to end. It's been almost, a year and 3/4, almost 2 years, really. It has to end at some point. But the investigation should go forward. And when the findings are there, there should be no question left out there that any of us should be questioning.
We've got 30 seconds left. I'll split it between the two of you. Ms. Axne, what have we overlooked?
That's it?
Well, I think maybe economic opportunity here for the people in Iowa. So I absolutely want to make that a priority. I'll go back to the fact that I want to support our small businesses. I want an infrastructure bill that helps build that baseline for economic growth.
Congressman Young.
We do not need to go backwards with Nancy Pelosi as Speaker, raising taxes, overregulating our economy. And that side of the aisle, Speaker Pelosi is talking about impeaching. We need to go forward to make sure that this tax relief continues and economic opportunity continues and freedom keeps continuing.
And I've got to go. Thank you both for being with us. Appreciate it. And thank you for joining us for this special live Iowa Press debate here at IPTV Studios in Johnston. We hope you'll join us in the weeks ahead for Iowa Press at our regular air times, 7:30 Friday night and noon on Sunday here on statewide Iowa Public Television. For our entire crew here at IPTV Studios, I'm David Yepsen, and thanks for joining us today.
Support for this program has been provided by the Arlene McKeever Endowment Fund, a fund of the Iowa Public Television Foundation, established by a gift from the estate of Arlene McKeever.
No,
The
Casey's,
Associated
no.
General Contractors of Iowa, the public's partner in building Iowa's highway, bridge, and municipal utility infrastructure. I'm a dad.
I am a mom.
Yeah, I'm gonna do this again in 2 years. I told Molly if I gotta raise 50 grand for friends of Iowa Public Television to get in the debate, I'll do that. But I don't take campaign contributions as a moral thing, so. Hi there. I thought David did great. He did a wonderful job. Hey, Joe. Hey.
How you doing?
Good.
What'd you do? Film it all?
Yeah, I filmed the whole deal
What, from
right here.
oh, really? You
Yeah.
on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, who's this?
This is my girlfriend, Sandra.
Hi, Joe Grandin.
This is Joe.
Honored to meet you.
Yeah,
Oh,
she,
yeah, sure.
she was at the state fair wearing that other crazy flag
I
shirt with me.
remember.
So.
Now I got you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, anyway, well,
Yeah.
it's just unfortunate we weren't both there.
Oh, I know.
Because we would have had some disagreements on a lot of the topics. And which of course would have made it a better debate.
Oh, it would have made a better debate. Yeah, I think you and I should have gotten, or just 2 years ago.
Yeah, I want to meet at the beginning of the year to see how they can improve the code.
I hope we can do that.
And he goes, when you run again, he says, well, we'll see about
Yeah,
that.
I hope he's still alive
Yeah,
to do this
right.
again. I says, you know, I don't want people to think I'm being rude just because I'm standing up for a right to participate.
Anyway, it was an interesting debate.
It was, yeah.
It was interesting.
And they agreed on a lot of stuff too.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So, and when you're in a debate, you look bad if you're the bad guy.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And so
if you're criticized or something.
Yeah.
And that may be why I wasn't allowed. Maybe they're giving me a time
No.
2 years ago. So.
Whatever.
Yeah.
You're on the ballot. I'm on the ballot. It should have been.
I know.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go, boss.
Okay. All right. Oh, can I get a picture with you here?
Yeah, you bet. Yeah. 2 candidates were left.
Yeah.
Yeah, you bet.
You stand here, I can catch that.
Oh, just take one. It's okay. Just take one. We got that. Stand over here. Oh no, my friend, not my girlfriend. Stand over here. Press it right here. On the inside. Is the camera on? There, it went to sleep. There we go.
What are we gonna do?
Take one right here. How are you? Yeah. Sure. Take a cup. I want to shake your hand too. So.
Okay.
One. Get one right here. Come over here, Joe. This is where I was. I was right in front of the. I was right in front of this.
Oh, okay. The public television thing.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
The coat room. There we go. Thank you. And I'm going to shake your hand for one more. All right. We're the hired help. You and I are patriots. It's just they won't let us participate.
I'm more than a patriot.
Well, I know, but you know what I mean. We're men like the founders,
It's a
like
scam.
Abraham
It's a
Lincoln.
scam.
Yeah. I know
It
it
is.
is. I know it is.
How is it?
That's great.
That's a good one.
That's great.
I like the one here.
Yeah, that's a good one right there. I like that. Yeah, that's good.
We'll send him to
You know,
Yeah, I'll send them to you.
what's unfortunate about the whole thing is we could have called them on the carpet when they signed.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't. They went around the issue.
Yeah.
And they didn't give us. They went up what their agenda was all about instead of answering the question.
No, they want the system to continue the way they have it set up. Yeah.
And so
That was weird seeing all the enforcement people. It's like you and I don't have.
why is that? Oh, because of the. They thought maybe the Never Trumpers
Yeah.
or the Me Too people would come out here
Yeah, they don't.
and come out here and protest. Were there any
Maybe they thought
protesters
they
out
might.
there?
Oh yeah, there were people. They even had 150 signs stuck in the.
Yeah, no, but
Yeah.
were there protesters that were
The
against?
Democrat. No, I didn't see any like radical
Oh, I
protesters.
see. I didn't know.
You're looking at one. I'm about as radical as they
No,
come.
no, you're a good man.
Well, thank you, John.
Okay, I'm gonna go
You go
home.
home.
I'm gonna go to somebody.
All right. Have a good one.
Outside, what the yard sign.
I will see you soon. We should get coffee.
Hey, how you doing? Good. Hey, have a good night. You too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ready? All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a great night. Thank you. I got to have a drink after that. Well, the debate is over. I thought that it went pretty well. I thought they both did a good job of explaining their party's point of view under the lights and the camera and the action, and I'm sure it was stressful for them being up there with an audience that was pretty packed. And, it was nice. No one interrupted. The audience did not interrupt the debate, and that's good. That did not happen last night with the gubernatorial race. So thankfully, the supporters of the Republican and Democratic candidates for Congress behaved themselves and respected the proper decorum. So I'm going to read here something I was going to read before I got here, but I'll do it now. I brought it in my Libertarian Party of Iowa folder from our state convention. And if it says, "We the people," we're all about our Constitution and our system of government. So.
Yeah, did we put the 4x2?
I found this excerpt from my notes from law school, from constitutional law. Actually, it was my First Amendment class that I took. That my professor gave me a C- in freedom of speech. So I hope that I've redeemed myself and running for office as a candidate, being an advocate for liberty over these last 4 or 5 years. I hope I at least got an honorary A in freedom of speech First Amendment class, because he gave me a C-. So, but I'm going to read from Justice Brandeis's concurring opinion in the case of Whitney versus California, where the Supreme Court affirmed the conviction of a communist agitator. But Justice Brandeis wrote some wonderful, wonderful words about liberty of speech, and I'm going to share them with you here tonight. And I start with the quote. Quote, "Those who won our independence believed that the final end of the state was to make men free to develop their faculties, and that in its government the deliberative forces should prevail over the arbitrary. They valued liberty both as an end and as a means. They believed that freedom to think as you will and speak as you think are means indispensable to the discovery and spread of political truth. That without free speech in assembly, discussion would be futile. That with them, discussion affords ordinarily adequate protection against the dissemination of noxious doctrine. That the greatest menace to freedom is an inert people. That public discussion is a political duty, and that this should be a fundamental principle of the American government. They recognize the risks to which all human institutions are subject, but they knew that order cannot be secured merely through fear of punishment for its infraction, that it is hazardous to discourage thought, hope, and imagination, that fear breeds repression, that repression breeds hate, that hate menaces stable government, that the path of safety lies in the opportunity to discuss freely supposed grievances and propose remedies, and that the fitting remedy for evil counsels is good ones. Believing in the power of reason as applied through public discussion, they eschewed silence, coerced by law, the argument of force in its worst form. Recognizing the occasional tyrannies of governing majorities, they amended the Constitution so that free speech and assembly should be guaranteed. Fear of serious injury cannot alone justify suppression of free speech and assembly. Men feared witches and burnt women. It is the function of speech to free men from the bondage of irrational fears. Those who won our independence by revolution were not cowards. They did not fear political change. They did not exalt order at the cost of liberty. If there is time to expose through discussion the falsehood and fallacy, to avert the evil by the processes of education, the remedy to be applied is more speech, not enforced silence. Only an emergency can justify repression. Such must be the rule if authority is to be reconciled with freedom. Such, in my opinion, is the command of the Constitution. It is therefore always open to Americans to challenge a law abridging free speech and assembly by showing that there was no emergency justifying it. So, you know, I've worked hard to run as a candidate for this congressional district. I have not taken money from anyone. I have not asked for any votes. I'm a simple, humble servant of God. I try to be a patriot. And 3 times now, I have not been allowed to participate in the debate with Congressman Young, the Honorable Congressman Young, and the Democratic candidate. It hurts me, it pains me to my core because, you know, I'm not up here for me. This is for all of you. So if any of you were in my shoes, you would have been excluded too. And if you get on the ballot, you should be able to participate in a public debate on public TV because it's all about us. It's not about one party or one personality. So I'm going to run again for this seat in 2 years, and I hopefully will be invited to the debate in 2020. I hope they have one. So thank you for watching tonight, and if anyone ever needs to get a hold of me, my name is Dr. Brian Jack Holder. My website is holderforiowa.com, and my Facebook page is Brian Jack Holder 754, and my phone number is 402-689-1817. If you want to know about your government and what's going on, you can always give me a call. Thank you for watching, and let's look out for each other. Thank you. Oh, thank you, thank you. Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not.
Oh, you're voting for David? Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, this is my concern.
Yeah.
Are you going to take votes away from David?
Well, here's the thing. The votes don't belong to David. The votes belong to the people.
I know, but let's
If my
face
grandmother votes for me, is that taking a vote away from David?
it, that's your family.
What about my friends? If they vote for me, is that taking a vote away from David?
I would have to say in some instances,
David
yes.
doesn't deserve my vote. If he wanted my vote, he would have pulled a chair up to that table tonight. I'm a Christian. Jesus Christ was a carpenter, and he would have said, pull up a chair, Brian. You're a fellow believer in America and
I
God.
understand, and I respect that, but you remember Ross Perot, and it.
I don't care about Ross Perot. I would have voted for Ross.
Are you filming this?
I would have, she's deaf, so I would have voted for Ross Perot, but I voted for Bill Clinton.
Okay. Well,
Not because I wanted to, it was
just the way it was.
Well, the Bush had been in there, the former CIA director, ambassador to China. He's a deep state, secret society. I won't vote for anybody that belongs to a secret society.
Well, I
You know, if you're a Mason or a Knights of Columbus, that's one thing, but Skull and Bones.
Well, I do appreciate the
Yeah.
fact that you are interested and you care.
Well, thank you. I got a law degree. I earned a doctorate degree at Creighton.
So you know.
I have a psychology degree, and I've studied communications, and I'm a photographer and a videographer. You know, David spoke in Council Bluffs,
Yes.
and he got to speak with the president
Yes.
there.
Yes.
You know what? I filmed David speaking from outside,
Yes.
and I put his speech up on my Facebook page because he's my fellow citizen.
Okay.
And I have no animosity towards David.
Yeah.
My problem is with this government. They
Not
need to add
allowing-
more seats to the U.S. House of Representatives. It's been over 100 years since they had any more seats added.
Good
Anyone that studies Anyone that runs for the U.S. House should discover that they stopped adding seats in 1911, and the country has tripled in population. So I suggest dividing the districts into 3 smaller ones. David has an office in Council Bluffs, Creston, and Des Moines. Why doesn't he represent the people in Des Moines, and somebody else represents the people from Creston, and I represent the people from Council, or something?
Yeah. No, that's
Because we're going to lose
point.
another seat in a couple of years with the
I know, but
reapportionment.
yes.
We're going to be down to 3.
With the
So
population.
King and David and 2 of our sitting congressmen are going to have to run against each other.
Yes.
And they may be in the same parties.
You
But
are
the
absolutely
people in
right.
Washington don't want to break these districts up into smaller ones.
Well, particularly the heavily populated states.
Yes, yeah.
No way
Well,
to-
you know, the people of Puerto Rico have no representation. And there's as many Puerto Ricans as there are islands. And they don't have any U.S. representatives. So I didn't mean to get upset.
No, you didn't.
I just,
I respect and admire.
I'm trying to turn over the money changers tables without upsetting anybody. So you take my card.
I will.
God bless you.
Yes, and I do.
I'm not trying to cost David the election. And us libertarians, I used to be registered Republican.
Yeah, and
we draw as many votes from both sides of the.
okay,
That's
that'll make me feel.
Yeah.
like
Oh
a
yeah.
little
Yeah.
bit. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You take care,
You know,
sir.
I'm probably more conservative on some things than David is.
I probably am too. I'm pretty
Yeah.
conservative when it comes to dollars and cents.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But
And I
anyway.
worry about the debt. You know, and our money being worthless someday, and the electrical grid being turned off, and people die from an EMP attack.
Yes.
I worry about these things. So, and
Well, you obviously do your homework.
I do. I'm not smarter than anybody, but I try to be as well prepared as the next guy. So, well, God bless you, ma'am.
Well, you the same,
All
sir.
right. Thank you. Thanks for coming out.
Now, this is not going to show on TV, is it?
No. No, this is just me because I like to record what I say to people.
Okay, 'cause I just
No,
didn't
you're
wanna be
fine.
on TV.
No, you won't be on there.
Okay,
She's on me. So, yeah, thank you. And that's a wrap. Keep it rolling. Keep it rolling. Have a good evening, folks. Thank you.